Hi, my name is Taylor Lybrand. I am currently an employee at Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, but my first job right out of college was actually at United Way of the Midlands. Uh, I, growing up and all through school, I was always a pretty avid reader. I loved reading. So it was only natural that when I got my job at United Way, I signed up as a volunteer for the Midlands Reading Consortium, or MRC, with United Way. It's essentially a reading tutoring program that tutors hundreds of kids every year in elementary school. Uh, Probably my second year in as being a volunteer in MRC, I had a kid, we'll call him Thomas. Thomas was such a sweet little kid. For example, one Monday I came in and asked him, "Hey, Thomas, how was your weekend? What did you do?" And he told me that he had sold his Xbox and all of his games for his Xbox to the kid down that lived down the street from him. And that was kind of weird because he always loved those games. He would always tell me about whatever boss battle he had the day before. So it was kind of confusing when he just up and sold them. And so I asked him, you know, Thomas, why did you do that? And he said, well, it's because my dad has started having car trouble, and because of that, he can't get to work. And I found out that we don't have enough money for him to pay for the repairs. So I decided to help him out by selling my Xbox. And I said, well, that was very nice. Did your dad or mom tell you to do that? He said, no, no. I just knew he needed help. So that was the kind of kid Thomas was. He was the sweetest kid, always looking for uh, people who needed help, and then trying in any way that he could to help them. So one week we are reading together, and we get to the end of the page that we are on, and Thomas says, "Mr. Taylor, can I ask you a question?" Now that wasn't abnormal for Thomas. He always asked very off the wall questions, to be honest with you. So I wasn't that concerned. But then he looked up at me and he said, "Mr. Taylor, I have noticed over the past few weeks that the only other kid in my class that has a reading buddy like you is the kid who sits way across the room from me. And he is a terrible reader. So does that mean that I'm a bad reader?" Now, let's be honest here. Thomas wasn't facing a physical disaster. There was no tornado that was going to wipe out his house. He wasn't going hungry or anything like that. But to him, in that moment, my answer to his question was everything. His entire outlook on his self worth, his outlook on how much he valued education, I could tell in that moment my answer was everything to him. So I said, "No, Thomas, I don't think you're a bad reader, but sometimes we all just need a little help so that we can do as well in life that everyone around us knows we can do." So I assume that was the right answer because Thomas's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. From that moment on, Thomas actually did do very well in reading. He progressed a ton, and his teacher at the end of the year pulled me aside and told me just how much Thomas had learned that year since I had been helping him. So, really, all it seemed Thomas needed was just someone to encourage him. And that's what United Way does, day in and day out. Whether it's simple encouragement like I was to Thomas, or if it's, you know, supporting homelessness programs, or dental programs for underprivileged communities. There's so many things United Way does to uplift this community, and especially after everything this country's been through in terms of the recent pandemic shutting down a lot of schools, is we're going to need to come together uh, even more than we were before to help these kids who are already falling behind catch up. So I talked a little bit about how much I loved reading earlier, and one of my favorite authors has a quote. His quote is, "I have found that it is the small everyday deed of ordinary folks that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love." So when I think about United Way, I think that that quote fits it perfectly. It is a community full of ordinary folks every day doing small deeds to keep the darkness at bay. So I hope you will join us and United Way in helping to keep the darkness at bay.